How are we doing there? Wonderful, huh? I was in sunny, hot Florida yesterday, and now I'm in cold, snowy Kentucky. There's snow on the ground. It's wet and miserable outside. This is not a soda, by the way. It's flavored water. It's got 0 calories, so it's actually quite healthy. Sorry about that. How about a logical, intelligent discussion from an angle that no one's ever made before? There's an analogy in metaphysics about a sunlit building and people having different perspectives of the exact same entity. Someone standing on the sunlit side of the building, someone standing on the dark side of the building. One describes it as beautiful and lit and fantastic, and the other person describes it as dark and foreboding. Both of them are accurate because existential perspectives, of course, are both true and 100% untrue. I'd like to approach the Nikon Z series cameras as they currently exist from a perspective that nobody has mentioned in any YouTube channel. And it's what people keep hitting around about, but they don't say it, and they never put their finger on it. Nikon, of course, has been heavily invested in DSLRs now for decades. I'm a huge Nikon fanboy, if you will. I've invested more money in Nikon gear than any of you have, yet I've received an enormous amount of hate the past couple years over the abysmal failures of Nikon. Nikon is in serious financial trouble. I have an inside source, same inside source that told me to the month of when Olympus would fail. I made the video and he said 6 months from now, Olympus is going to fold up. And to sell off, it's going to basically be over with. Basically. And that happened to the month. The same person has told me that Nikon is in way worse trouble than you imagine. Their financials have absolutely been horrific. They're going to have new financials, I believe, in March or the end of February. They're supposed to be record-setting abysmal. Nikon is in serious trouble. However, this video is not about Nikon's financials or their financial crisis that they're in. What if the Nikon Z series of cameras didn't have Nikon's name on it? It was a completely different entity, say a new camera company. We would say, if we weren't Nikon fanboys, this is a completely different brand, exactly 100% identical to the current Z series of cameras. We say, well, these cameras are late to the market. Anybody that was logical, intelligent, made an accurate statement. These cameras are late to the mirrorless market. They're already 4 or 5 years behind. They're easily 3 iterations behind. It has Nikon's wonderful menu system, and it has Nikon's wonderful image output. Those are all incredibly praiseworthy, but the cameras don't make snuff. It's a completely different set of train tracks from what Nikon has been doing. Yes, Nikon did make some abysmal failures, by the way, dinky mirrorless cameras before the Z series cameras came along, but I've tested out 5 of the Z-mount lenses, and they're not only incredibly unimpressive, 2 of them were beyond horrible. They were absolutely horrible. The price for what they are compared to a really good G series or DAF Nikkor they're horrible. They're absolutely abysmal. If it didn't have Nikon's name on the Z series of camera, you see, Nikon is not Nikon. What people have been unable to put their finger on in all these silly little YouTube channels, all of them, is that, well, it's Nikon, I stick by Nikon. Well, that's good. So do I. But it's not Nikon. It's not what Nikon has been building, for decades and decades. This 100-story high-rise, gilded in gold, made out of DSLRs, D-series autofocus Nikkors, G-series, these incredibly awesome 300mm 2.8s, and the really epic Nikon stuff that everybody knows Nikon is famous for. Even if you don't like Nikon, they've nailed it there. What Nikon did is they build a poorly constructed, ugly, looks like a government building, an outhouse, if you will, behind or adjacent to, the 100-story Nikon high-rise that they've been building for decades. and all the illogical, unsensible Nikon. Well, it's Nikon. It's got Nikon's name on it. It does have Nikon's famous image output. It does have that. It has its incredible menu system. I love their touch menu system, which even Fujifilm doesn't have touch menu system. Absolutely fantastic. The build quality is not bad. I even recommend the Nikon Z5 last year. But Nikon is not Nikon. This is a completely different entity. It's a completely different building than the gilded high-rise in the sky that Nikon's been building for decades. It is a completely different entity. It's a completely different set of train tracks, and train for that matter. Everybody just keeps, pointing at the fact, well, it's Nikon. It's like, well, who gives a damn? Where does it stand on its own? This reminds me of people that, make insignificant fools famous, like the daughter or son of a very famous actor. Well, he's the son of so-and-so. Well, who cares? Well, he's the son. He's the offspring from the loins of the super famous Hollywood. Who cares? People are taking the illegitimate child of Nikon, a completely new entity, and if you're logical and reasonable and honest with yourself, which a lot of you are not, I don't know what percentage, if you're honest with yourself, you have to say that this just has Nikon's name on it. Nikon has backed away from their warranties. They have reduced it to 1 year. All sorts of horrible things have been happening to Nikon, but I'm not interested in talking about Nikon's abysmal disaster financially, which, if you've been awake for the past few years, you know about. These cameras, they don't stand on their own. If you're honest to what the Z-series cameras are, they're 3 iterations removed and 5 years behind everybody else. They just damn well are. We could say that to an even small degree about Canon. However, Canon's crushing it. I'm not a Canon fan at all, but Canon's mirrorless R5, and I will do a full review on the R5 soon, is way better than Nikon. So is the glass for it. The most horrific glass I've ever tested in my life have been 2 of the Z-mount lenses. I've tested 5 of them currently. 2 of them were just a joke. I don't know if it's just Nikon's half-arsed attempt to stay relevant in the mirrorless camera market when everything is slumping right into the pits of hell, which it is, amongst what's going on in the world and the fact that everybody's moving to cell phones, right, for their photography needs. It just has Nikon's name on it. Stop treating it like it's the famous son, it's the son of a famous actor. Why? That is what everybody's really treating it as. Like, where would it stand if it had some other camera company's name on it? You and I would say, logically and tell, well, this new camera, Camera X, identical to Nikon Z-series camera, is 5 generations behind, or 3 to 5 generations behind, and at least 5-6 years behind. And it is. It absolutely is. And the native Z-mount lenses, people say, I love my Z-mount lens. Well, what compared to what? This video is going to get a lot of hate, I know it will, but I don't make videos to please people. I try to be logical, accurate, and intelligent about making decisive conclusions and statements about things, and that includes the Z-series of cameras. Nikon's arrogance and hubris has come back to bite it in the butt. Nikon is famously arrogant. They're actually in many ways, believe it or not, they're even more arrogant than Leica, which is really tough to say, but they are. Nikon, if I think about it logically, and I've talked to some Leica reps, even though they sell mostly snob jewelry, overpriced snob jewelry, Nikon is way more of an arrogant company. They're run at management level exactly like IBM was in its heyday. Too big to fail. To hell with you if you don't like us because we're IBM. Nikon has that same mentality. And it's really, really bit them in the ass. And even the people up in the ivory tower at the top of the building of Nikon realize that. Now they do. And when their financials come out in about a month and a half, everybody's going to know. It's like how bad it really, really is. I don't wish Nikon ill or doom. but their Z series of cameras are not impressive. They're just not. The menu system is great. The touch menu system is great. The EVF is horrible. The tracking is bad. The interface for adjusting tracking and types of tracking is abysmal. The lenses, the native Z-mount lenses, are beyond abysmal. They're horrific. The same people that are praising those Z lenses are the same unintelligent critters that think Sigma lenses are good. I love my Sigma lens. You don't know what you're talking about, fat tattooed guy. Well, compared to what? How many lenses have you tested? Have you tested and used and owned many countless thousands and thousands of lenses? And the answer is always no. Well, I love my Sigma lens. Well, that's good. But in the spectrum and the pantheon of lenses, the lenses are no damn good. The Nikon Z lenses are no damn good. Well, you've only tested 5 of them. This is true. But all 5 of those were not good. 2 of them were horrible. Unbelievably horrible. Every camera company makes several bum lenses, but as many decades as Nikon's been in the business, for them to make trash that bad is... if it didn't have Nikon's name on it, you, if you were being logical, would be more realistic and down to earth. Say, hey, this camera is 5 or 6 years behind and 4 or 5 iterations behind. It's not worth buying. The only camera that is worth buying is the Nikon Z5. It's because it's cheap and it's full frame and it's a great intro camera. However, the Z-mount lenses, the native ones, absolutely suck. I'd have to get an FTZ adapter, which should come free with the damn camera, but it doesn't. I wish the best for Nikon, but there's nothing that Nikon is doing now that is the best. Nikon announced about a month ago they're going to stop making their premium cameras. Even the Nikon D5 or the Nikon D6, they're all going to be made in Thailand, which I don't really care. The camera that's recording me right now is a Nikon made in Thailand. The point is that Nikon's in way deeper trouble from my inside source, who's been right now 100% right now for 30 plus years. Nikon's in way worse trouble than you or I realize. And that will be perfectly manifest this year. Nikon will have full reveal on how horrible it is financially. But we need to stop treating Nikon like it was. Just because it's got Nikon's name on it doesn't make the Z series of cameras praiseworthy. That's what a brand loyal fanboy does. Well, I love it because it's got Nikon's name on it, and if it's got Nikon's name on it, and it's awesome. People that make reviews like that are useless, and they provide misinformation. I don't tell anybody what to buy or what not to buy, but I wouldn't put my money in the damn Z series of cameras. Their lenses are horrible, and they don't perform best. They just don't. The autofocus performance on this XT4, for example, are head and shoulders above, as well as the interface for adjusting autofocus parameters are head and shoulders. But it's also several years more advanced than Nikon's mirrorless. Nikon was late to the game. Everybody knows it. Every YouTuber with a half a brain has said that. You think we're all wrong? Well, we're not. We're all in agreement on that, and so am I. Anyway, Nikon.